This is JP Bang Music.
Soak it up,
Purchase your
boy.
tracks
You
today.
know, you 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 know. Soak it up, boy. You know, you know, you know, you know, you know, you know, you know.
All right, welcome to Straight from the Horse's Mouth. Excited to be back. First of all, we gotta give our prayers out to Bill Russell's family, the great NBA player. Unfortunately passed away today. But I definitely want to give that shout out to the Russell family, one of the greatest NBA players of all time. I wish his family the best through these tough times. Also, want to give a shout out to Chris Smith, our partner in crime, Ruben Pena, J.R. Tover, everybody in the San Diego community and things that we do. I just want to give you guys a big shout out. We've been away for a couple of weeks, but now we're back stronger than ever. And I got a really, really big special guest today, Coach Ben Blake from Black Hill State. I've been knowing this man for I don't know several years now, but I followed his career all the way from when he was in Division One. Now he's got one of the most rising programs at Black Hill State in Division Two, and he's just a great guy. He's really hit the pavement hard within Southern California, California as a whole as a recruiter. And we're just going to really talk shop about what's going on in the state of recruiting, state of Division Two, and how he sees things playing out. I'd like to welcome Ben Blake.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate your guys' time and letting me be on, and excited to kind of let everybody know what's going on with recruiting at every level.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting with you guys' program, Black Hill State. I think you guys are one of the programs that's on the rise. I mean, in the great Midwest, northern part of the country, up in the Dakotas, and I believe you guys' program is one of the ones that have really attacked the recruiting trail really, really hard and really aggressively coming for the next up and coming few years. Talk about your approach. You guys' approach at Black Hill State.
Yeah, I think for us, especially in this day and age, we're probably a little bit old school in the sense that we still try to recruit high school.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big point for us. Obviously our immediate area here in South Dakota and Wyoming and Colorado, Nebraska type areas, but then what is our out of state approach, right? And I think that's where we knew California was going to be really important for us, and got the opportunity to recruit Southern California, and kind of hit the ground running from there. So just trying to find guys that obviously are going to make it here.
Mm-hmm.
It is obviously a place that's going to be different from possibly, the concrete jungle, as opposed to my big kind of, I guess, selling point for those guys is they trade in palm trees for pine trees.
Yeah.
That's kind of our approach in what we do. And then, outside of that, we'll look kind of portal, and then junior college from there, maybe junior college first, depending on position from that side, where I don't think that's really the main approach for a lot of people anymore. I think most schools are they're kind of portal first, high school second, and then junior college. I could be wrong, but that's just kind of what I see in my track.
No, I tend to agree with you on certain things, and we're gonna go a little bit more detail on that as well.
Yeah.
But let's start first. Let's start with what you look for in a recruit. Like, what are you looking for when you go out to recruit a high school athlete, as far as his film, his social media, and him just as an overall prospect?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for us is twitch. Like, can that kid change directions, move? Is he explosive at all positions, right? At O line, can he move in space and be able to? Because if you watch any of our film, we're a pin and pull team. So you're going to see guys run out in space. So can guys play in space?
Mm-hmm.
Can they keep their feet moving? Are they sluggish that way? As a skill guy, can he make somebody miss? As a defensive guy, can he change direction and go run downhill and attack and make it happen? So I think all of those things, that's kind of the biggest thing as far as film. Like, how does that translate for us? there's going to be some measurable things that we would look for. You'd like to have a tackle be a little longer than a center, a corner maybe a little longer than a safety. But outside of that, it's like, can the kid play? Does this film speak to you, when you turn on those first few clips? And I think that's going to be the biggest thing. And I think I told you last time we kind of talked, like, kids need to understand what we're trying to look for. And like, I recruit all of Southern California, for example. So I have, Palmdale, the high desert, down to, Chula Vista and
Mm-hmm.
San Ysidro and all that. So like, I have that whole area by myself, where most schools aren't going to have that, but I do. So I can't watch 4 minutes of film on each kid,
Yep.
right? Like, I need to be able to see, like, hey, are these three or four going to intrigue me as a position coach or intrigue our position coach, and then we're going to pass it on, right? Like, okay, this kid meets a couple things. Maybe he's got the size, maybe he's got the twitch, he's got some overall speed. All right, the film is initially what's going to have me pass it on to the position coach so he can evaluate it and recruit it from there. Obviously grades are going to be the biggest thing, right? If they're not Division II eligible, then we can't recruit them. I do think we are a situation like, you got to be really, really poor in your grades to not be eligible for D2 coming out of high school. They kind of changed the rule a little bit ago. We also have the sliding scale deal. Even a partial qualifier can be put on money and aid for us as Division II, and really an academic non-qualifier can be now. It kind of changed the game, that you might try to take a kid who athletically could put you in a different level and get him in as gen ed classes here, as opposed, and getting into a 4-year environment where, he's part of a nutrition center and a weight room and dorm rooms and all those things, then having to try to do the recruiting process again. Cause I think that's what's really hard right now is just that piece of it. But then, obviously social media is going to be important too. Like, what's the kid posting? Who's he liking? What's, what are those things that he's looking at? Because it starts to tell the problem that people don't understand, right? They want to say retweet doesn't mean I said it. Well, yeah, it really does. But if you like it and said it, I mean, you're agreeing with the statement. So that makes us have to understand that, hey, this kid could be a little bit of an issue, especially coming into a community like Spearfish. There could be some issues there. So, I think that coaches say it all the time, but we're definitely going to evaluate that as we go. And then, honestly, one of the most important things for us here at Black Hills State, and for me, is I'm going to talk to the head coach. I know that there's handlers and there's 7-on-7 guys and yada yada. I am going to talk to the head high school coach about the kid, because I think it's very important. One, I don't want him to ever know that his kid got an offer from us through social media. That's never going to happen when it comes to Black Hills State. I'm going to talk to the head man first. And if I can't talk to the head man, I'm going to talk to the recruiting coordinator, someone associated with that program, to make sure that they know, hey, this kid is being recruited by us. And it's junior college, we're going to do that. High school, we're going to do that. And traditionally, I'm going to try to call someone from the previous school if we were looking at a portal kid to get a reference on that guy.
Yeah, and I think that's important. I really do. I think in this day and age with 7-on-7 and, like you said, all these handlers or street agents, as they call them, kind of in the middle of the mix, taking a lot of credit for kids when it's actually the school they play for. They don't, they participate in 7-on-7, but they play for a school and they play for a coach in the school, and they represent that school more so than they do that 7-on-7 team or that club team or whatever, more so. So I believe that school deserves a lot more recognition sometimes than they get. And then, they can, then the kids can tag anybody else they want, as far as so they got their offer from. I think that's super important now in today's day. And speaking on that 7-on-7, how do you personally feel about that? I mean, I think it's a necessity with skill guys, but is that a breeding ground for recruiting or no?
I mean, it can be for some programs. I mean, it's not for us. Like, I don't go to a 7-on-7 tournament and see what those guys are doing, right? Like,
Hmm.
it's going to be his high school film. I mean, that's what we're going to bank it off of. Like a Division I school can't go to a high school 7-on-7 tournament.
Correct.
So, they can put their film out there and go with it. I think what's more important is, getting to camps where coaches can evaluate you.
Hmm.
I know there's some great, you know, big camps that are in California that have a lot of different schools that go to. Those I always feel like are great because I get to see you in person then, and competing in a little bit different way than 7-on-7. I mean, there's a lot of great 7-on-7 quarterbacks, and then all of a sudden you put a line in front of them in a rush, and now life gets real in a hurry. So
Exactly. Exactly.
I like the fact of it that it keeps kids in a competitive mindset. I think that's always important that you're able to stay. That's why I like multiple sports too, right? Like
Mhm.
it keeps kids in that competitive mind frame. You're learning a little bit different skill set, and those are some things too, as far as just offense or defense in general. You're going to get to see, but like very rarely am I going to get to evaluate a 7-on-7 film, you know.
Hmm.
So it's really going to be more about what you're seeing at the high school. Now, maybe a kid that doesn't get as much playing time at the high school, maybe he's able to get some more film from the 7-on-7 that you're able to evaluate. But yeah, I don't put a ton of stock in that personally. That doesn't mean
Hmm.
that a lot of people don't. But really, I don't have the time to put stock into that because of everything else that trying to
Yeah.
evaluate, whether it's our team camps, whether it's your high school film, when I'm in person, that those are the things that are a lot more valuable to me.
I think one of the interesting things that you said that a lot of people don't know, or they get, I guess, they make it's misunderstood. The Division I coaches can't attend any 707 tournaments, which
No.
I see a lot of people propaganda. Hey, this kid got offers from the 707 tournament, or this kid was, he got an offer right when he played in this. I'm like, well, the kid was probably already recruited before prehand, and maybe he got a restamp by maybe a writer or somebody said, what, he's an athlete that you said you is, something like that. But it's all started when they were playing in pads. It doesn't start when you're playing in non-pad, non-contact sport. And I think they get people are misinformed. I should say more misinformed, or they are led on to believe that a 707 team leads to a Division I scholarship, which absolutely I don't believe so at all. I believe it's done what you've done in your high school film, your junior year and your senior year, that leads to offers.
Yeah, no, I mean 100%. I completely agree. You kind of said it before, right? It's people want to take ownership of, hey, I got this guy an
Mm-hmm.
offer. It's the same thing, and I might get excommunicated from everything, but it's recruiting services too, right? Like I get 1,000
Mm-hmm.
emails a day, and I'll be honest with you, if they meet a certain measurable from an email, I might look at it. But a lot of times, like I'm not looking at those, so
Mm-hmm.
it's just different. Like when I was a player, there was no huddle, right?
Yeah.
There was no social media. So a recruiting service was a little more valuable. Like I got recruited because of my paper profile was faxed through to a coach and
Mm-hmm.
he saw the fax and then called me that way. But that day and age it's over. I'll look at an email that's come from a recruit himself way before I look from something that some service that sent me, because
Mm-hmm.
half the time a service will send me something that kid's already committed somewhere. Like it's
Yeah.
just on a track that just keeps getting sent over and over
Yeah.
again. So I like the legitimacy of a
I,
kid
I,
contacting me
I'm
directly
guilty of
on
sending
Twitter
that
or
to you
something like that.
sometimes. My bad. My bad. Some of the guys, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm like, man, here's a guy. You be like, oh, he already committed. I'm like, damn, I didn't know. But but it's funny because I think kids, the thing that discourages me about kids now or prospects now is they want more and more and more and more and more recruit. Like they want to be recruited by. I think they like the Twitter likes and the recruitability instead of finding them a school that's a perfect fit for them. They're not looking for that perfect fit. They're looking to say, hey, I got 20 Division I offers. Okay, that's fine, but you're not looking for that one that's the one that's perfect for you that you're going to be able to play it that you like. They rather have 21 or 22 offers. You know what I mean? So I get discouraged by that portion of the recruiting, with some of the kids because they don't let me know. Some kids will send me the profile, hey, can you help me out? And they've either already committed or they've already got 15 other offers. And I'm like, are none of these a fit for you? Or you just looking to get recruited, just to get more offers, just to say you have more offers on the table. That's a discouraging factor with some of the prospects today.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's the day and age that they've grown up in, right? I mean, likes and comments and social media, that like it's neurologically an effect, right? Like it's the dopamine of getting the like, so you want to be able to get that like again, and that is how we have conditioned ourselves mentally, and that's just the culture that our kids have grown up in. So it makes it really difficult. Because you might go to a school because you got an offer there, but it's not the right fit because you just wanted to get an offer there and say that, hey, I went to this school, and then all of a sudden, 6 months later, you're in the portal, as opposed to going to a place that maybe you might even have paid a little bit more to go to, but you're getting developed, you're cared about, and you're going to end up having a great career. Not to say that people don't come here and in 6 months decide this isn't where they want to be, because that absolutely happens. But I would much rather go to a place like myself, right? When I was getting recruited, I could have went Division II. I could have walked on a Division I school. I went and played D3 because I felt like that's where I needed to be. They cared about me. The coaches invested in me. And played as a true freshman and played all 4 years, won a conference championship, and now I'm doing what I'm doing. That experience and even though I paid a little bit more money to go to school, that experience was a lot more important to me than because it was the right fit.
Let's talk about a little bit, because I know you go through, especially being in Division II. Kids say, hey, yeah, I'm interested. I decide I'm going to go to junior college. I'm gonna give it a shot and go to JC and see if I can give it a roll in the dice there. And then I'll say two things, and then you can kind of comment on them. One, I see just junior college ball, especially in California, being obsolete in the next 5 years. I think at this point, financially for the institutions, it probably doesn't even make any sense to have those sports anymore, because it doesn't make money for the school. And I'm not talking about just football. I don't think they're gonna have junior college athletics anymore with the portal, because now the portal is now the new breeding ground for recruiting experienced players that play at the collegiate level. That, and number two, I don't think junior colleges, and not all of them, I'm not speaking on all absolutes, but I'm saying a lot of junior colleges do not inform prospects what they need to get out within that 1 or 2 year window. And what I mean by that, they have to have the 60 transferable units. Doesn't care about your AA. They have to be 60 transferable units. They gotta do all these certain things in a matter of time. Your clock starts ticking. That gray shirt and purple shirt and all that stuff they give you doesn't put you on trajectory to get those 60 units. So now you're prolonging an inevitable stay at junior college for so long. I want you to comment about both of them. How do you feel? And the pluses and the negatives. I don't want to be a downer on JC, because I do think for people that needed it, it is a definitely path route to go. But I think too many kids think that's the way to get in to either a higher level or get them an opportunity, which I don't believe that is. The opportunity's already been presented to you. You just think there's something that's different out there, and there really isn't. Please speak on that.
Yeah, well, it goes back to what we said before, right? Like the portal changed the game with everything. That was like my recruiting spiel. If I have a spiel to recruits, is trying to educate them, right? Everybody wants to sell. Like we should be in this profession to help kids make a decision that's going to best, betterment them, whether it be, financially, academically, football, scholarship wise, playing. Like it is crazy how many recruits ask, like, hey, do you know the difference between Division I, Division III? And they have no clue, right? They have no clue that Division I gives 85 scholarships and FCS gives 63 and Division II can give to 36. Like they have no clue. So that's where we start. Like I just try to be super real with them. And then usually I'll end the conversation like, that's probably not the typical coach speech you've had. I'm like, no, coach, all I've heard about is like how, we're one piece away and you're the one piece that's going to make us, turn the corner, right? So unfortunately, that's what the junior college coach, like the spiel has been, hey, I'm going to get you D1, right?
Yep.
When really most college football players in junior college are D2 guys. They're
Yep.
D2 guys that come out of high school and they come out of junior college as D2 guys. Sure, you
Correct.
have your couple of guys that are going to go Division I and go big time, but most of the time they were probably placed there because they had to go, or they bounce back. Like how many Division I guys that you're seeing right now that were Division I bounce backs that go to junior college and now are going D2?
Yep.
And most of it, could be a clock issue, like you said. They don't understand that, hey, when you start full time, your Division I clock starts.
Yep.
And it's 10 consecutive semesters. At Division II, it's 10 semesters in general, so we can kind of manipulate and do some things. But for the most part, like you get those 10 and it's over. So in this current climate, it's really hard to say, hey, I want to go get recruited again. Right? And that's what you have to do if you go junior college. Like for most kids, it's going to take a year to get acclimated, no matter where you go, whether it's a 4-year, you go junior college. Okay. So at least if you go 4-year, now you're going to have 3, possibly 4 good years that you're getting to play. Where if you go junior college, it's going to take you a year to acclimate. And there's going to be some kids that start right away and get going, and that's great. But a lot of them are going to redshirt. Okay, a lot of them are going to take football classes and this weight class and these things just to make sure that they can stay and play, and then
and get their financial aid, and get their financial aid,
yeah,
right? And to get their, they can take those.
Yep. And get that Pell, so they get their Pell money. So then now they're going to go get to play 1 good year. Now your time to leave. So you go to the 4-year, it's still going to take a year to acclimate a lot of times at the 4-year, and then you have 1 good year, maybe 2, that you got actually playing. And I just think it's sad that people, and I think you liked it. I hear people bag on certain, like, why would you want to go D2, right? Like that's what a kid's getting told from a junior college coach, and it just is. And again, not saying every junior college coach is saying that, but there's enough that are vocal that are going to say that, right? Like, why would you want to go D2? Oh, I'll tell you why, because you're going to have coaches that are investing in you and care about you. You're going to be in a program where you can get a great degree. And I'm not just talking about at Black Hill State. There's a lot of schools in our league that have great educations, that play high level. We had 2 teams go to the playoff. Like, you're going to get to play competitive football and get your degree. And sure, you could say that a degree doesn't matter, but my dad was a truck driver, drove a truck his whole life, never had an opportunity to get any higher because all he had was a high school education. So you can say you don't need that, and maybe you don't, right? Go to trade school, like learn to be a welder, get some diving courses, and you'll make a hell of a lot of money.
But we all know that's far and few in between. That degree means something,
right?
And I mean, people want to talk about the workforce. I work in high tech. And I know for a fact there's a shortage of men of color in high tech, for sure.
Yeah.
And that degree gets you that degree opens that door for you to be able to get yourself into at least that industry. And I'm sure it's like that in a lot of other industries. So when kids say they don't need a degree, I think that's a ploy saying maybe you don't want to go to school and you better figure out either maybe military or, like you said, trade school may be the opportunity, or you'll be a have-not. Let's just be honest with you. You'll be a have-not because it's statistically shown. It's not just me and you spurn. If you have a degree, you tend to make 10 times more than a person that does not have a degree. That's just the way that's the way it is. You have to be educated and kind of working the thing. And now that we're transforming our society into this, it's not manual labor anymore. It's more intellectual labor that you need to have in order to to make it. You even need your degree more so. So I think when people say that, it kind of discourages me. But two, I get really pissed off at junior colleges when they sell the pipe dream. Like you said, you're going to go Division I. Well, you're 5'11" D tackle. You're not going Division I. That it doesn't work that way. It doesn't. The attributes doesn't cut it that way. But he's a talented player. It doesn't say he can't play at the next level. It just says you're not Division I bound. So why not take that advantage of going to a Division II, D3, or NAIA, play your opportunities there and go. And like I said, I don't think all JCs are like that. I think there's some JCs that are doing great jobs, like Olympian, Palomar. I think they do Grossmont, Southwestern. I'll give all those guys a shout out. I think they're all doing really good. Mason, they're all doing really great jobs of that. But also, you guys talk about the ones that are successes that are getting out. Tell me about your failures. There's
Yeah.
110, 115 guys on the football team. You got 7 guys out. Tell me about the other 111. What's going on with them? Because majority of that, a lot of those guys are going to fall through the cracks and never play football again after their junior college career. There's a
Yeah.
lot that fall off, but people don't talk about that number. They hate discussing that number, but that's a realistic number because they're not academically sound to go into the next level. They don't have the 60 transferable units. They're missing something that's there academically to get themselves transferred over there. Or again, they're going to miss the bucket all the way around. You're undersized. You're not good enough to play at the Division I level, so you're not going to get that offer. So now your next offer is Division II, and some kids are just so stubborn enough they just don't want to do it. And I get it. If that's the end of it, that's fine. But I mean, my cliche has always been, I don't think college is for every kid, but I do believe every kid deserves an opportunity to go to college. And if this is your opportunity, your platform to do it, I would highly encourage kids to maximize it.
Yeah.
In my realm. Sorry, that's my soapbox moment.
No, and it's true, and that's what I try to tell kids and educate them all the time. Of like, hey, it's really hard to get recruited, and then it's really hard to get re-recruited.
Mm-hmm.
It just is, you look at the portal. There's 4,000 guys almost always in the portal all the time. Looks like, right?
Yep.
Well, 10 to 15% of those kids are going to get out and go somewhere else. Well, where do you think the other ones are going? Like you said, they're either done, right? They academically can't make it somewhere else, and then they got to drop down and go to junior college. So then okay, what are you selling the kid that's dropping down from the portal to junior college? Like what are you telling that kid too, right? Yeah, hey, I'm going to get you back to D1.
Yeah.
So now you got 125 guys on your team that you all said that you're going to get Division I. Well, how does that work? So
Exactly.
I want kids to be honest. It's the same thing here. It's why I'll never tell a kid that he's going to come to Black Hills State and start, right? Like I'm a firm believer that if it's one of two things, if you tell a kid he's going to come to your school and start, you're either one, lying to him, or two, you suck, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to lie to a kid, and I don't think we suck even when we might, so
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have to come in and earn things and be in a situation to try to put yourself in a situation to be successful. And that's the other thing with a 4-year. Usually your academic support system is going to be a lot better.
Yes.
You're going to have somebody that you can actually go to professors and they have office hours and try to get help. You can get tutors for everything that's usually included within your school cost. That I also think is really important. You're going to be in a dorm room, right? I think that's the biggest thing when you look at like the junior college in California. Not very many of those are going to have that. So you're living in a studio with like 4 or 5 other guys. So what does your sleep habits look like? How are you eating? All those things
Mm-hmm.
come into play that I would much rather go to a Division II school or Division III school where I know those things are going to be taken care of. And like I said, NEI has a little bit different rules too,
Yep.
that you might be able to get in academically there that you wouldn't have got into before. So
How has the landscape of the portal either helped you guys or hurt you guys? Like, I know that you kids always want to enter. They think there's something, they think grass is greener on the other side. But I know, I know I can speak for my son's division. He plays Division II up in Southwest Minnesota. They got like 6 or 7 or 8, 9 D1 drop back, fallbacks that are coming to their program. And they got people that they had 9 or 10 guys leave out the program.
mm-hmm.
And I think the landscape of the portal now is, Division III is now the breeding ground for Division II. Division II is now the breeding ground for Division I AA. Division I AA is now the breeding ground for Division I, and Division I is now the breeding ground for Power Five. Everyone goes up or lateral. No one fall. I mean, you either fall down or go lateral. I should say. Not too many people go up. But if you are that talent to go up, this is the way to find your recruiting now with an experienced talent, not junior college so much anymore. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you look at like the best example that I can think of. So when I was at Southeast Missouri State, my last year there, we played Illinois State in the first round of playoffs, and they had a nose guard that was a beast. Like we, no one could really block him.
Hmm.
We attempted and did an okay job, but not in the end. Like was dominant. Well, I'm watching a Power Five football game the other day, and so the kids was Jacob Ridgway was his name. He was the nose guard for Illinois State. Well, I'm watching the Razorbacks play. I think it was Georgia or Alabama. I think it was the Alabama game,
Hmm.
and there's this big freaking nose guard that is just dominating Alabama's offensive line. And I hear the name, I'm like, that I couldn't block that guy. Well, at least I know Alabama couldn't block him either. So, you hear that all the time. There's definitely kids that get plucked and can move up. I know it was on social media a month or so ago about the South Dakota State kid, the tight
Hmm.
end that, talked about how he was contacted by some bigger schools to get move up. So that definitely happens.
Hmm.
Um, we didn't have as good a year as that we probably would have hoped, but there's some players on our team right now that I feel like we're going to have a great season. And yeah, the challenge is, will somebody try and come and get them?
Yeah.
It definitely happens. Usually when a kid just wants to kind of leave out and get in the portal himself, that's where you start to see he drops down, right? He's not getting the playing time that he wanted,
Hmm.
and now he drops down and tries to get the play. I mean, we obviously took a Division III guy that started, 8 or 9 games at Division III and is going to come in and hopefully be a starter for us on the line. So
Yeah.
it definitely happens.
So
But was he a kid that we went and plucked? No, but he was in the portal. I watched his film. Was like, yeah, this kid's freaking good. So
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
it
I
it
think that's a great example of how the portal is beneficial, especially for you. And then again, like I said, I have a problem with kids, thinking the grass is green on the side. They want to jump in, like you said. Majority of those kids, they didn't give enough playing time, or they got a problem with something. There's some issue they have with the program, whether it be the playing
yeah.
time, a person, or something. So they want to jump in the portal and think everything is going to be hunky dory and go there and figure it out. Which we know most of those guys are going to be stuck in the portal or have to go or like you said, go JC. I found it
Yeah.
interesting from Deion Sanders when he said that he plucked 2 Division II kids from the portal from Miles College to come up to Jackson State for them to play. So
Hmm.
I see this, and I kind of always like to try to look hindsight. This is the new breeding ground for kids that want to go Division I. If you're not quite developed or quite physically developed or just quite that player, Division II is going to be the breeding ground pretty soon for Division I guys to come play because they already know a few things. They know you're acclimated to a 4-year program. They know you can handle the academic regimen, the time management regimen, and then 4, they'll know you guys as coaches to make sure your system is similar and how successful this kid is playing in a competitive environment like Division II. And I think kids get the false reality. They like guys don't go pro out of the Division II conferences, which there's plenty of guys that get opportunities to play at the next level, which is funny. Um, but I see the portal. I see that portal. That's what I mean. I think the portal is the gateway that's going to, unfortunately, demise junior college football. And that's just my opinion. I haven't read anything. This is not no theory, so I don't want JC coaches watching this jumping down my throat. But I do believe that's going to take away junior college football, just like it did Division II football in California. The price of having those athletics weighs out more than the money they're making. So why have it when there's another platform to grab those kind of players?
Yeah, I mean, finances are the biggest concern, right?
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of anything. I mean, you look at the Arizona junior colleges that
Yep.
folded it up because of money. You think of just the state money that the deficit that California is traditionally in, anyways, with financially, it could be really
Mm-hmm.
easy to say, hey,
Yep.
we're going to fold it up and go. The state of college football itself is going to look different in 5 years, right? I
Yes.
mean, the fact that, your 2 perennial schools in your state jump ship and go Big Ten,
Yep.
right? So, I
Yep.
mean, it is, it, the trajectory of college football is going to look different.
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, like, what is the NCAA going to look like in 5 years? I
Hmm.
don't know. I can't tell you. I think if those big schools get out, that's where we're gonna could suffer as far as some stability. As far as the NCAA, what it really does for us, like, really they come into play at Division II once you make the playoffs, right?
Yes.
Now they're gonna
Hmm.
pay for your travel, to go do something. Like our men's basketball team went to the Final Four,
Correct.
this last season. So
Yeah.
being able to them to cover the Elite Eight game, and then the Final Four game and all the regional games. That's where the NCAA starts to kick in and help us. Like, we're not getting some TV money and you know building our budget off of that by anything. I think we get
Correct.
like $10,000 from the NCAA for the entire athletic department. So
Yep.
it's more about postseason stuff for us. So if the big boys get out and decide to do their own thing, who knows what the NCAA is going to look like
Yeah.
after that. So
I've done some studies on. I mean, I've done some research a little bit on that. And my thought process, to me, I don't think there'll be a Division II ball. I think all Division II teams are going to move into Division I AA. I don't think there's going to be that middle ground anymore. Just because NCAA is going to have something to fund and kind of be up there if they want to continue to be a governing body. And obviously, you can't do it that way. Right now, we want to maximize football and football talent to its best, in my opinion. They want the
yeah,
best of the best and the cream of the crop. There's no better way than to say, hey, division those few stellar Division I AA programs that are now the North Dakota State, South Dakota State, James Madison, and all those guys will bump up to Division I to make that now 150 team, and then they're going to backfill out with Division II teams, and other Division II teams will have to petition to go Division I AA. The scholarship money is always good, but we already know the money's in the enrollment. We want to maximize our enrollment process. So if we can maximize our enrollment by turning all these schools to Division I, schools are going to buy in. NCAA survives because they have a big governing body of more teams, and then so on and so on. That's just my. I'm no Dalai Lama. I'm just kind of doing my doing my
yeah,
assessment of why I see
sure,
things. But I see it going that way because it only makes sense money wise. You got to think now. We have now almost 200 teams in Division I AA fighting for playoffs. That's a more marketable, competitive market that we can all buy into, and now makes the landscape of recruiting and overall the football might be better, right? The players that are currently there and going in there. So I think that's kind of the direction they're going. I think that's the direction they're going in. Like you said, no one knows in 5 years. Who knows? They may just be dismantled. We have no clue, but I can see it going that way. And I can see Black Hill State being the Division I AA team. I can see that whole conference, Chadron State being the Division I AA team. You keep in your same conference, you just give more scholarships, right? Because
yeah,
NCAA is now funding more money, and
sure.
it goes that way. It makes it more competitive at that point.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, and I think that's so when it kind of rounds back and goes back to the junior college, it's going to come to money, right? Like, can
Yep.
they fiscally do it each year? And
Exactly.
we all know that football is usually the driving force of a university, but
Mm-hmm.
it also is the most expensive to upkeep, right? Helmets,
Right.
jerseys, pads, all those things to be able to go. So it'll be interesting, to see what the change is from there, especially if kids start to realize, hey, I'm not getting what I was told I was going to get. And
Mm-hmm.
that happens everywhere. That happens at 4 years as well.
Yep.
I think it'd be a lot better if we as coaches in our community would just be honest and be real with kids. Like, if the kid can't
Mm-hmm.
play for you, tell me he can't play for you. You know,
Exactly.
it,
Exactly.
and move on. Like, at least don't drag a kid on and go from there. But unfortunately, everyone's trying to either hit their number or um, you know try to say, hey, I think sometimes it goes back to coaches too. Like, hey, I brought in 15 players to our program, so that means I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Well, can 50 of those guys play, or can two of those 15 guys play for you? I think
Exactly.
there's a difference from there. So it's hard because everybody wants the clout, right? Everybody wants to say that they're they were the reason why this happened or that happened, and unfortunately, it's that's just that's the culture that we live in, right?
Do you think in culture that we went away from the process of development? I think let me speak where I'm coming from. Division 1, there's no room, there's no development process no more. You're developed coming out of high school, going to this program. Day one, you're competing. You're the guy. You're supposed to be in here to be able to compete. I see. I don't see in Division 2. Everything runs downhill. So I'm not seeing the development piece where you used to say, you know what, you're going to come here, you're going to redshirt, you have your redshirt freshman year, maybe some special teams, and then by year 3, you're going to hit the ball rolling because we're going to develop you into that player. Is that still in existence, or is that just a coaching shift that's not there as much anymore?
I definitely think that it's still there. Like North Dakota State, like that is still their model, right? Like they're still going to bring a kid in, they're going to redshirt. I think in like, maybe one dude in the last 7-8 years has maybe come in and played as a freshman for them. Most of the time they're going to redshirt. Your Northwest Missouri States, they're still going to bring in a kid and probably redshirt. Now that doesn't mean they're not going to bring in a dude that's ready to go get a little higher quality high school kid. But a lot of times, it comes back to the portal, right? Like, hey, it's still a win now mentality. So that's another reason why people are going to go to the portal to try to find those kids, to bring them in and get them going. And, now with obviously, since it's July 1 and those kids can't really come in and play for you anymore anyways, now is when you're seeing those junior college kids get plucked by the Division 2 schools. I mean, we're a week out from camp, and there's still kids that you see on social media like, hey, recruitment's still open. Like, hey, like we're 7 days out right now. Like, you got to start to make a decision, buddy, and get your spot, So but they waited to try to get their spot, and here they are. You might get a little bit of money left from a Division 2 school. So that's kind of how I see it from that point of view. So we still try to develop kids. Like we're going to take some kids that, hey, this kid's probably a developmental kid. He needs at least a year, just because we're not going to get the best player right now. And I think we got. And probably more so on like the line perspective. Like I believe we signed some really quality first year ability playing skill guys. O-line wise, maybe. Of our freshman class, I think there's probably 2 that could maybe come in and whether it's a day 1 starter or by midseason. Last year I started a true freshman. But that's kind of where we're at as the state of a program. As you start to move your program along, you may not have to have that kid as much. But I mean, we view ourselves still as a development program, but yeah, we're still trying to find the best kid that can help you right away. Like kind of, I guess it goes back to your very first question you asked me. What I look for is he better than we currently have?
Yeah.
If he's not, can he give us depth immediately? If you hit those 2 boxes, or at least one of those 2 boxes, like you're going to at least get passed on and get evaluated from us. And then there might be the 6'5" or the 6'6" tackle who is a little stiff or a little slow that you're like, hey, I'm going to take this guy and develop him, because if he was ready, I would get him anyways, right? If he could bend and do all that stuff right now, he's not coming to me. So if he's a little stiff, he can't bend quite as well. All right, let's get him in our development program. Let's get some weight on him and see what can happen from there. So
let's talk about retention at Black Hill State, Coach. Like, what are you doing to retain these guys? Because as we know, California kids. You stated specifically before, hey, you're trading, palm trees for pine trees, and you're trading our lovely Southern California weather for, which we know could be some type of a brutal winter a little bit, according to us. Not for them, but this could be a brutal winter. How are you managed to retain these kids? Because you did really good this year. You recruited the hell out of Southern California and California in general with some really good players.
Yeah, I think part of it, the very first year we got here, I want to say we signed 2 kids from Southern California. The next year we signed 9, and this year we signed 17.
Yeah.
So, and we haven't kept all those guys. I mean, that's part of it. And, they get up here and, they didn't see the field as fast as they thought they could have. They didn't make it academically, whatever it may be. We did lose a couple from there. But it comes back to relationship, right? Like, you got to be you, and I'm going to be me. So I just try to be honest, and I try to be real with kids. And I think that hit home for a lot of them, that, I wasn't just coming in and trying to be a used car salesman and give them a spiel and a pitch. That we actually do care about our kids, and seeing them develop. We've got 90% of our team here right now. I think that's a big piece of retention.
Hmm.
I like to call that sweat equity, right? When
Yeah.
you've built that sweat equity with your teammates, it's a little harder to tell that dude that, hey, I'm going to leave you. When
Yep.
you've been there and you've been in the weight room, you've been grinding. And I want to say I think we got 15, just over 15 true freshmen here right now that came our July session. And that's huge for
Mm.
them, right? Because what's the hardest thing? It's the first 3 days. Camp.
Yep.
First 3 days, by far the hardest thing, right? Where at least in July, they've come in and we're working out in the morning, and then we have captain-led practices Tuesday, Thursday night. So you're getting some acclimation there, where you're not just getting your face crushed in with meetings, practice, eat, meetings, workout,
Yeah.
wake up, do it again. Like, and you get that in the first 3 days, and you find out real quick, like, hey, I'm not ready. That vacation that I took this summer, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard. It's
I,
hard
I
for
think
them to get over that.
I think one of the best comments I've ever heard was like, "Hey, you gotta love football to make sure you go to that next level, because you're right. That time management and that physical drain, and I give it longer. I think it's that first week, because the first couple of days, remember, you're just doing the meeting stuff where you're getting their information. You're acting. The meetings are long, but you're just getting their personal information, getting on. When you start getting the
Yeah.
ground and implementing playbook, inside run, what we're doing on 707, how we bring it together as a team, how we're implementing a play or two every day to get it in there. And you're that freshman that's not playing. You're getting the 1 or 2 reps in, but you got to do everything else. You're waking up at 6 a.m. to work out. I think those things right there start to tell the character of any young man when you get here. Do you really want it, or don't you want it? A lot of kids find out, some kids find out they don't want it. It's not for them, and I respect that fondly. They gave it a try, and it's not for them. Other kids get in it. I think there's another set of kids that get in it, think they can ride it out, but they get burnt out really, really quick, right? That like you said, that's a really tough mental toll on them. Or they're thinking about quitting, but they're sticking it out. They're trying to figure it out and kind of get through the grind. And then there's other kids that just embrace it and love it. Like
Yeah.
you said, those kids are already there on the 15th. They're embracing and loving the concept that I'm going to be in college. I'm acclimated to players. I know what the weight room's about. I know what the coaches are talking about when they're yelling at me and when they're not yelling at me, and so on and so on. I think that's in the me now being much, much older, and I look back, I love that process. I loved it. I freaking loved it to death. But I can see why kids, don't love it so much and why they
Yeah.
quit. And, back in our day, it was a lot harder. The coaches were a lot hard school than they are now. Now you got to be you have to have the sensitivity training in what you say and how you yell at some kids. But back then they'd call you every MF in the world and make sure you got it right.
Yeah.
Which is great. And I'm glad you guys are doing that early, with retaining kids. And I think hopefully I hope you guys do out the year. Obviously get the California kids to speak with them to kind of keep retaining them and make sure they're okay. That homesick thing also is real. It's a real thing.
Hmm.
Not only on the kids' part, but also on the family's parts. The families start to miss their baby and all that stuff. And mom's she has a set of depression just like the kid does a little bit. So kind of got to make sure that comfort level is there all the way around, from you guys' program. Um, Last question, coach, or not last question, but last kind of part of discussion I want to discuss the financial part. I think people need to understand how you guys package kids. What's the financial part that you got kids, the scholarships you kind of give, and how that varies and so on and so on.
Yeah. So for us, it's crazy just how people will try to manipulate numbers, right, to make it look good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times that I've seen where we'll send an offer sheet to a kid. So how we package it is we're going to put tuition at the top. We're going to put the dorm, so a standard 2-person dorm for us, and then we put the highest meal plan on the
Hmm.
sheet.
Correct.
Because if I say, hey, here's our 10 meals a week meal plan because it's the cheapest one that's going to look the best. Well, how are you going to eat on 10 meals? Like
Exactly.
it's like, hey, well, they're showing the 10 meals. Like, what are we talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's a big piece for me. We do put on ours as a 24 credits because that's the minimum that you have to maintain. But we also
Hmm.
put the number, if you took 30 credits, this is what the cost would be. So we're not trying to pull the wool over your eyes, to say, hey, you can't see. No, hey, here's the 24 that you need minimum. If you did take 30 credits, which some kids do, or you take 27, at least it's somewhere in between these two numbers.
Hmm.
Then at the top is usually going to be the football aid. Then there's going to be the if they were going to take out a loan, what their Pell is, if they qualify for work study, and then their SEOG money, which is the student educational opportunity grant that usually piggybacks with the Pell,
Hmm.
that the government gives the school and the school can allot. So our school is going to give anywhere from about, if you're a full Pell kid, you're going to get anywhere from about 500 to 800 SEOG money. So we kind of put the bottom number of that on there. For the
Hmm.
work study, you can go 2,500 a year. So that we and ours is a year cost. So we give them the year breakdown of what that looks like
Okay.
for us. So scholarship wise, it can obviously range from a little bit to a lot. We're typically gonna include your Pell in the cost for us because again, at Division II you can only have 36.
Yep.
So if to say that a school is giving you one full equivalency athletic money, that doesn't happen.
No.
They're
I always
manipulating
tell
numbers
kids.
somewhere.
Yeah, I always tell kids it's a combination of your Pell and what they're going to offer you, and then what you get
Yep.
kind of outside of that. I think one
Yep.
thing the kids don't realize, especially newcomers or or freshmen coming into your program, is that if your grades are right or the situation's right, you need to look at the school and look for also scholarship money within the school. Like if they have an
Yeah.
ELP
Yep.
program as a scholarships there, because you guys that's not your job to do that. That's their job to
Yep.
kind of do that research, and a lot of kids don't do it. They won't. They just think whatever. Oh, that's all I'm getting. Oh, it's going to cost too much. Well, did you exercise your way to go look at the other external scholarships or other internal scholarships that you qualify for
Yep.
within the school system to help you offset some of that cost?
Yep.
And I think that's a huge mishap that people don't take advantage of. And I know you guys do it because I've seen on your website, you guys have it. I've seen it
Yep.
on several other Division II websites. It's like, hey, you can qualify for being, you know, uh, Latino and Spearfish, right? You're a Latino
Sure.
recruit. You're gonna get $1,000 because you're Latino, and all you have to do is submit this application, and 9 times out of 10 you'll get it because they're giving out $2,500 scholarships. Um,
Yep.
I believe kids and parents are knowledgeable about those things outside because I know you run into kids with sticker shock. You give them the cost. Oh, they cost too much, coach. My mom can't afford it. I don't know how we're going to do this. My mom doesn't want to take out a loan. They don't want to take out a loan.
Yeah.
They don't want to do this to pay for my education. So you know what? I'm not considering going there. Which I tell kids all the time: the loan is an investment in yourself. Bet on yourself if you're going to do anything, and bet on your education. You'll be in a position to pay that loan back once you graduate, more so than not. So don't worry about investing in yourself. But two, if you want to offset that loan, look at other avenues within the school to get more scholarship money. And I don't know if that's something you share with recruits or something like that, but I do believe
Yep.
that's a misconception, or that's a miss. That's just a miss that they don't go after. I mean, I see a lot of kids they don't
Yeah.
even go. They don't even apply to a lot of those grants and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's and that's one thing with our school is any outside grant and aid will accept and take. So if you, like you said, you qualify for something, first generation college, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you can just search, outside aid on Google, and there's going to be 1,000 forms you could fill out
Yep.
to help with that. Academically wise, for us, our scholarships are going to range from 1,000 to 4,000, depending on GPA and test score. So we're on a matrix too. So when I get a kid's grades, I can go, okay, hey, you're going to get $2,000 academically as well, and we'll put that on their sheet so they're able to see that and
Mm-hmm.
that's something that as long as they maintain a 3.0 and are passing 12 hours a semester, then they get to keep that money. So those are also things that we go from there. And yeah, I give them my experience. I went Division III, so I definitely took loans out, right?
Yeah.
I think in the end, I was around 20 grand that I was in loan debt. I paid $119 a month. Wrote it,
Yeah.
like it auto withdraw, didn't even think about it. And I think about a year ago is when that was paid off. And then my wife's like, "Hey, we're done paying your bill." I was like, "Oh, great. Okay." I didn't even think about that because I wouldn't
Yeah.
be where I was at today if I didn't have that.
Exactly.
And so I try to definitely educate them. But sure, yeah, there's a lot of misnomers about a
There's a
loan
ton of them. And I
and
think you
those
guys even have a
things.
website. I looked on your website. I think you guys have a website off your admissions page. It's not off the sports page, but it says something about if you want to scholarships. And it gives
Yeah.
you a list of foundations throughout South
Yep.
Dakota or the Dakotas or that mid-race region that people could apply for and qualify for, especially if you're already accepted into Black Hills State, right? If you're
Yep.
already accepted into there, yeah, you can go here
Yep.
and apply and do these things, pay for college. There's scholarships right there, number 4 on the screen
Yep.
that you can apply for that I think kids don't take enough advantage of. It's like, man, it's so easy to go ahead and apply for some of those things. Even if you don't think you qualify, apply for them because some of them are just $500, but that $500 starts to add up if you get 2 or 3 of them. If your school
Yeah.
costs 10 grand, you get 2,000 is knocked off your bill right off the bat from these scholarships. And
Yeah,
some of them are so
absolutely.
simple. Yeah, and some of them are just so simple. It's race. Some are just that simple. Are you a first-year student? Do you have any Native American in your blood or in your background? Things that are very, very simple and easy to kind of apply for. I would hope kids to do that because I hate when people use that as an obstacle, right? Oh, it's cost too much. It's financial. It's an investment in your education to make you a better person in the long run. That financial thing shouldn't be the burden when there's other avenues to get that money to pay it off, right?
Yeah.
There's other avenues to explore to do that. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
I would encourage every
Absolutely.
kid to kind of apply. Say it again, Coach. Sorry.
No, absolutely. And I think that's what I try to educate kids too, especially when I'm recruiting Southern California, is our out of state tuition is just over 9 grand.
Mhm.
So when our total out of cost, is just over 18 when you put in, your room, board, tuition fees, all that stuff. We're just under 19 for an out of state kid. So when you put it in perspective, it's like, okay, well, if you want to stay in the state and play, you're either going to go to junior college or you're going to go Division III or Division I. There's nothing else in between.
Nothing
we
else
all
in
know
between
the
in
price.
California. Yeah.
Yeah, and you all and they're great schools and they're great academic schools, but they're going to range anywhere from 30 to 70 to 80K.
Yep.
So I don't care how much money you get from them. If you're not on a full, I could give you nothing and it'd be cheaper to come to our school.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think kids need to get over the shock of not, especially California kids. You need to get over the shock of not leaving the state if you want to continue to play football, your career.
Yeah.
There's only so many Division I schools, and like you said, there's only so many people that can afford the Division III schools. But if you want anything between the NAIA and Division II and Division I AA, pretty much you got to leave the state. I mean, we have some Division I AA schools, but they're very high academic to get in, except for Sacramento State, which is an impacted school already. It's really difficult if you want to play at the next level coming out of California. And I'm not talking about just Southern Cal, I'm talking about the state of California. Kids got to figure out another avenue to go ahead and place themselves if they want to continue to play football and pretty much any other sport outside of college. You want to be able to go ahead and jump and play out of state. And I think Black Hills State has something special going on. And I think you're part of the reason to that, Coach. I think you guys are building something really special over there. And you really tapped into our market in California to kind of, bridge some of the gaps you guys have. And, like I said, I just hope the retention thing kind of stays and you guys continue your success.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I appreciate it. It's about relationships, it's relationships like us. I mean, I think when we first made contact with each other, I was at Southwest Baptist University.
Yes.
And that was 2007. So
Damn.
here we are now. It's been
Hey,
a
you showing
while,
our age
right?
big time.
Yeah, right, right. It's crazy. So and that's the thing. Like I love the fact that now I get to kind of be more in person, and I think that's another thing that we do possibly a little different than some people. Like we're gonna get boots on the ground and recruit that area. I'm gonna be in the high schools and talk and have our presence and build our brand down there. That's important.
Yeah,
To me, that's important to us. So 2 years ago, people would have been like, "Who? Where?"
exactly.
And
Exactly.
now they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm friends with this guy. I know that guy." So it's definitely been really good for us, and I'm excited for the future as we continue to be able to build our brand and get high quality athletes and students to come up into the spearfish community and make a difference. Because that's one thing you'll always have California. Go
Hmm.
somewhere. I was originally from St. Louis, went to high school in Arkansas, went to college in Wisconsin. I learned so much being in a different state that then when I've been able to go, like now I have a different perspective on things. Like you're going to come up here, live a different life for 4 years. You're going to be able to go back to Cali and give a different perspective and have value in your community. And that's what I like to see is guys go back to their community and add value and give a little different perspective because you were able to learn something different and be a part of something different that you wouldn't have if you'd have stayed home and just did the same old, same old.
Absolutely, absolutely. I applaud the greater. I don't even know. Is that the Midwest, the Northern Midwest, Northern Lights, whatever you guys call it up there? I appreciate all that community up there because I do believe it's something that people need to go see because it's completely different. It's different,
Yeah.
different attitude, different state of mind, and even if we're just speaking football, it's a different attitude towards football. There, it's very passionate there. It's not just a cliche thing that you do. It's something that you really take pride in and doing in the Dakotas and the Minnesotas and those. So I really do appreciate that whole community that's up there. Coach, I applaud. Thank you so much for attending straight from the horse's mouth and sharing your perspective on things. I like to invite you. Hopefully, you can come to the SDNFNL All Star Game this year in December. A lot of your players that you got are from All Star Game, so hopefully you
Yeah.
can attend in
Um,
person this year. Is in December, but
absolutely.
hopefully you can come in person and we can roll out the red carpet for you and get you in tune with all the players there. But again, man, I thank you for joining the show. I can't thank you enough for sharing your insight into what's going on. And like I said, Black Hill State, man, I'm a big fan of the program. So I wanted to have continued success.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate what you do, especially for the San Diego community and those kids and really any kid, right? I mean, shoot, you'll send me kids that are freaking across the country and be like, "Hey, this kid hit me up." Like, so you have a presence too, and I commend you for that you have put an investment because I think that's important, investing in kids' lives so they can better themselves, which ultimately is going to better our country and better our future.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone, straight from the horse's mouth, where we cut out the middleman for information when it comes to recruiting and playing college football. Thank you for everybody for joining. See you guys next time. Peace.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Butter on my stress.